It's my feel-good breakfast show.
This is your feel-good breakfast show, Expresso. Thanks for choosing us this morning. Well, we're talking about hard work. People always say work hard, work even harder. But what about some downtime? We're talking about downtime for children as well as for our parents. Parenting expert Nikki Bush steps in to give us the advice.
Now, it's a known fact. Children today are busy, being rushed from pillar to post, from one extramural activity to another. And weekends no longer provide a break either, as many school sporting leagues take place on Saturday. Now, this morning we chat to creator parenting expert Nikki Bush over overscheduled children and why they need some downtime. Nikki, lovely to have you in studio. Welcome
Thanks,
back.
Ewan.
You know, this is interesting. It's one thing to say that, you know, our kids need downtime, but, you know, by being busy, doesn't that kind of keep them out of trouble and out of mischief?
Absolutely, Ewan. You know, busy children who are constructively busy, playing sport, doing cultural activities, that's really good stuff. But we are seeing a trend to overscheduling, even in the preschool years. So people are putting their kids into preschool, and every single afternoon there's an activity, sometimes two activities.
Yeah.
So you can put your child into an activity every day, plus take them to private swimming, etc. You can have a preschooler who's doing 7 activities a week before you even blink.
Yeah.
And then you go into primary school where you start playing league sport, and if you're perhaps a little bit good at something, parents put you into private tennis, private swimming, private everything, and it's very easy to find a child suddenly doing 9 to 14 activities in a week.
That is crazy, absolutely crazy. So I can start understanding why, you know, downtime comes into play. But I mean, from your perspective, why is downtime specifically so important for children, you know, young, growing, active children?
So young, growing, active children should be moving anyway. As part of being a child.
Yeah.
The problem is we put them in front of screens and then, of course, they're sedentary.
That is not the right way of downtime.
So then what we do is we put them into these adult-directed activities. But children have a limited amount of energy. Although they're very energetic, they have to replenish all the time. And they do that by having afternoon naps, by sleeping 11 to 14 hours during the night. I know you're suffering from the sleepless night syndrome at the moment.
Hopefully you'll get better one day.
And then even older children in primary school are not getting their required 10, 11 hours of sleep because they come home from all these activities and now they've got to have the whole bath time routine, homework routine, dinner time, etc. And before you even know it, it's 8, 9 o'clock at night. And physiotherapists are telling me they are seeing injuries in children as young as 9 and 10 years of age. And these are repetitive stress strain injuries because kids are doing these activities back to back without time for their bodies to recover. And the other thing is that a lot of a child's energy needs to go into growth, muscle growth, bone growth, brain growth, and repair. And when they don't have downtime where they slow down, when they don't get enough sleep, their body can't do those things. And then you get the injuries, you get illness.
Yeah.
Children who are suffering from overload and burnout often fall prey to illness. And when I talk about downtime, it's time where parents are not necessarily directing. They're supervising, but they're not telling their child what to do. Where their children can potter around. And I've got here some beautiful sensory stuff.
I would love to see. I mean, what is the correct kind of downtime we are looking at? Like you said, plonking them in front of the TV is a no-go.
It's an option.
It's an option,
but it shouldn't be the default setting.
I understand.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
So provide children with other activities. So have a feel here. This is
the most interesting thing I've ever seen in my life.
It's a form of Play-Doh. It's called kinetic sand. It never dries. And it is such a sensory, calming activity. So to put something like this on your kitchen table, and while you're cooking, instead of your kids, you know, doing hectic stuff, they can sit here just playing, doing stuff that calms their senses. This works exactly like Play-Doh works. Putting things like finger painting out. Construction toys, where they're just going on a flight of fantasy, where they're building whatever they feel like building. Because this stuff is all brilliant for calming the body, for calming the mind. And I don't know if you've been watching the news, but there's a big awareness of how good colouring in is for adults at the moment.
Oh, yes, actually, we spoke about it on the show a little while back as well.
To bring down the stress levels. Exactly the same for children. So any of those sort of creative type activities where you don't necessarily have an end goal. You don't have to finish the picture now. You can do it over 2 or 3 days.
A little bit of chill time.
Just chill time.
On that note, I just want to wrap up with, you know, how much chill time should you allow your kid? I'm calling it chill time now, but it's downtime. How much downtime should you allow your children to have? Is there something like too much downtime?
Of course there would be. If your child becomes a couch potato, you know, for hours on end
Yeah.
every day, that's not what we want. But I just think that at least one day a week, we need to make sure that these kids are chilling. You know, whether it's your Saturday or your Sunday or a half of a Saturday, half of a Sunday, the kids actually have some time out because their schedules are very hectic.
Brilliant. Absolutely, absolutely. You know what? I'm so intrigued by this. I'm going to ask for this to have this scattered all across the studio. This is great for some short time. Nikki, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Really go out and make sure to encourage your children to really get involved in extracurricular activities, but also make sure that they do get the necessary downtime and enough sleep as well.